intensity, excavating your subconscious, dynamic spotlight moments in relationships. Welcome to the full moon in Scorpio. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Freya of Freya Astrology. If I haven't met you before, welcome. And if you're a returning guest, then welcome back. It's really good to see you. We're here to talk about the next lunation. We do these lunation updates once a fortnight when we receive either a full moon or a new moon. This week, this fortnight, we are talking about the full moon in the sign of Scorpio. So for all of the fixed signs, you will be feeling this the most intensely. The fixed signs are Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. And the reason you'll be feeling this full moon so intensely is because whenever you get a lunation in the zodiac sign that is of the same modality, which modality just means fixed, mutable, cardinal. It's the way that planets behave themselves, and fixed is always coming at life from a viewpoint of being really sure, being really set in our ways, knowing what we like, knowing what we dislike, and not wanting to experience any kind of change. And the full moon comes along and it says, right, let's excavate this relationship in our lives, this situation in our lives, let's excavate this scenario at work and really understand what we haven't perhaps seen before, because what the full moon does is it brings along a spotlight and it says, okay, here's the full moon light on this particular life area at the moment. And remember that the life areas are governed by the zodiac houses. So first house is self, 8th house is shared resources, 11th house is community. You get the idea. So a full moon in the sign of Scorpio is going to be in one of these particular houses for you. And we will go through some brief horoscopes at the end of this video. Stick around for those. I will put timestamps on as well. Just a reminder that I do offer one-to-one astrology readings, and the link is underneath this video if you'd like to book one in. I would love to see you for a live reading online, or there are some pre-record readings as well where you don't have to show up. You just need your date of birth, time of birth, and location of birth. If you don't know your time of birth, we can still have a conversation about what kind of reading will be suitable for you. And join me over on my social media channels. I'm quite active on Instagram and also on Facebook under Astrology Freya. So this full moon is in the sign of Scorpio, as you can see here. The full moon is always when the moon is exactly opposite the sun. So the sun is going to be at 11 degrees of Taurus and the moon is going to be at 11 degrees of Scorpio. And this full moon is taking place on the 1st of May UK time. So adjust for your time zone. But in the UK, this full moon is taking place on the 1st of May around about 6:30 p.m. This coming Friday. A full moon is always going to shine a spotlight on the sign that the moon is in. And it's interesting because we've got almost like a double. There is always this oppositional feeling with a full moon between the sun in one zodiac sign, so in this case in the sign of Taurus, and then the moon in the opposite sign of Scorpio, which are two different energies. The sun in the sign of Taurus is fixed earth. It's where we don't want our material reality to change. And the moon is in fixed water, where it's like we don't want our emotional reality to change. And yet there is more coming to light at this full moon, which shows us where we really have outgrown something. Scorpio is very astute at noticing, where in my life am I living with emotional authenticity, and where in my life am I just sticking around in the kind of Taurus, the opposing sun sign area of the lunation, in the Taurus area of my life, where I don't want to not rock the status quo. I don't want to change my material reality. I don't want to change my daily routines and my material comforts, but I do need to be true to myself over with my authentic feelings, how I process the unspoken parts of human connection. What are you receiving and what are you giving in relationship? Scorpio is very adamant in, I feel this way and I will always feel this way. But with the full moon light, we see more information coming up to the surface. Listen to your intuition, listen to your psyche, listen to your empathy as well. We have a strong trine here, a supportive, life-giving, life-nourishing aspect here between the full moon in Scorpio and the North Node in Pisces, which is asking us, are we receiving enough affection, enough romance in our lives, enough idealizing of a situation, enough to dream big and really reach for the stars and reach for emotional support here in this situation? Are you receiving that emotional support in this situation? Where in your life are you receiving that Pisces energy? Look to the whole sign house of Pisces to see where's your supportive environment, who are the supportive people in your life. Because this Scorpio moon is saying, I don't want to change, and yet I've got this information coming into me. Maybe you pull tarot cards, maybe you have conversations with people, maybe you listen to music and you receive these downloads. Remember, we've now got Uranus, the Great Awakener, whilst Venus is also both in the sign of Gemini. There is a lot of mental insight coming through now that we have not previously had access to. And so we have the ability to kind of name our feelings, put words to our feelings. So that Moon in Scorpio is all about those deep feelings, and Uranus and Venus in Gemini are kind of saying, okay, here is some vocabulary that you can put to those feelings and start to work through some kind of therapy, counseling, some ability to research into like an ancient art form like astrology or numerology, something that allows you to delve deeper into your psyche and the reasons, understand the reasons why you play out repeating patterns in relationships or repeated patterns in the work environment or with family members or around your material resources, whatever it is, or maybe your health, depending on the house topics. Like I said, we'll get to the horoscopes at the end of this video. But this trine here to the North Node in Pisces is providing some sort of supportive, intuitive insight, whilst Uranus and Venus in Gemini here are giving us some extra information about how we can actually put that into words. We can start writing down what we are feeling. Maybe we're starting a journaling practice. Maybe we're keeping a dream diary. Maybe we're starting to, I don't know, play chess on a regular basis. And it's through that sitting and working out and strategizing with the game of chess that we start to get these downloads and this supportive information coming through about how we can start our own healing journey. Scorpio is very good at self-regeneration. So if you have a sun, moon, or Scorpio rising, then this is very much a story of self-regeneration for you. For the Mars-ruled signs, so that'll be a sun, moon, or rising in the sign of Scorpio or Aries, this is particularly powerful for you. You guys are going to be feeling this in a much more pronounced way than perhaps other people will be. Everybody experiences the full moon as an increased sense of emotional expression. But some of us will experience it making an aspect to a natal planet, particularly sun, moon, rising, Scorpio or Aries, and that just makes it go on loudspeaker for us. This is also a full moon in the sign of Mars when we have recently had new moons and a massive pile up in the sign of Aries in the spring of 2026, which is brand new activations. We have not been here before. We have had full moons in Scorpio. We have one a year. We have a new moon in Scorpio every year, but we have not had a full moon in Scorpio with so much Mars, which rules the sign of Scorpio, being active in the sky right now with a very strong, I mean, Mars being the ruling planet of Scorpio, we have the very strong transiting Mars in the sign of Aries, giving us this extra kind of self-belief, this extra sense of I am worth it. I am able to state what I need because it is coming through to me. It's this very kind of expressive, almost like, I mean, Scorpio is very eruptive, kind of like a volcano, whereas Mars in Aries is just like, I'm here, I'm proud of being me, it's okay to be me, I'm here to be seen, and I'm here for the long run because I'm here to advocate for myself in the long run because I've got Saturn on my side, I've got Neptune on my side, giving me these divine insights about what it is to be me. Aries is all about me, myself, and I. It's the baby of the zodiac. It's just that childlike innocence, that childlike joy. And Mars in Aries is advocating for that, giving us the courage and the enthusiasm to go for what we know is right for us. Whilst we've also got a Mercury in the sign of Aries, and it's conjunct Chiron on the day of the new moon, of the day of the full moon as well. So there is a healing story here to be had for all of us. But like I said, for the Mars ruled rising signs and suns and moons, so that's moon, sun, and rising in Scorpio or Aries, then this is particularly powerful for you. Also, the other fixed zodiac signs, so Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius, will also deeply be feeling this. Aries rising, this full moon in Scorpio on May the 1st is falling in your 8th house of karmic contracts. This is the house of inheritances and regeneration. This is a transitional place between birth and the opposite end of the birth spectrum. This is a place where some of our fears like to live. We knock very gently on the door of the 8th house as we move into, this would be the door, this house cusp here. We knock very gently on the door of the 8th house because it holds some very solid emotional feelings and experiences that we have carried through in this current lifetime, but probably from previous lifetimes as well, because this is a sign of Scorpio, the place that we inherit and the sign in which we inherit. So there's a lot here around those particular topics. This is also shared resources. This is mortgages. This is loans. This is, like I say, this is receiving unexpected windfalls from unexpected places. So this is a full moon in that house, really shining a spotlight on that house. And also the ruler of that full moon is in your first house. So your first house of self, body, identity is being called into question at this full moon as well. Paying attention to how your body feels. Have you got any heat situation going on in your body that is rising to the surface? Are your cheeks looking more flush? Literally pay attention to the color red at this full moon and whether or not you are wearing more red colors in your clothes, or if you are experiencing a reddening in your skin. Maybe you're working out more and you're getting hotter at the gym and therefore you are making your skin glow more red. It can literally be that kind of simple and straightforward when it comes to the astrology. Think about emotional entanglements and also think about how you are giving back to yourself at this time. Taurus risings, this full moon in Scorpio on Friday, the 1st of May, is showing up in your 7th house of therapy. This is the house of projection because it is opposite to the first house. This is the house of self, the first house, and then the 7th house is the house of projection. So how we experience life through the eyes of somebody else. We need to have somebody else's glasses on to actually experience so much about our own life. And that's what we do in the 7th house. So this is the house of marriage. This is the house of close-knit one-to-one relationships and the house of therapy. We can see when we get a full moon in the sign of Scorpio here that it could be the culmination point with a relationship, or there could be a new relationship being formed. And this over the next couple of days during the full moon light energy, which will last typically a few days either side of the actual date of the 1st of May, then we experience the reality of the relationship. Is this going to be a relationship that we can move into the long term? In the sign of Scorpio, that is fixed feelings. So feelings that are unwavering, that are thinking about standing the test of time. The ruler of this full moon in Scorpio is in your 12th house of the subconscious. So pay attention, Taurus risings, to what passions and enthusiasms are suddenly coming at you through your dream space, through your subconscious activities. Do you have a relationship with the subconscious when you do intuitive work, perhaps, or do you read tea leaves, or do you read tarot cards? You may need some sort of activity, perhaps increased movement as well, increased blood flow, because Aries does like to move energy through us, will help us to reveal what has been hidden in the subconscious. And a lot of that energy can be bringing through some healing themes at this time around relationships. Gemini risings, this full moon in Scorpio on Friday, the 1st of May, is in your 6th house. This is health and well-being, daily routines, and small pets. So paying attention to where you're reaching a culmination point with any of those topics or themes. This is also the house of service to others. This can be a work house. So how are you thinking? How is your work environment supporting yourself? How is your work environment supporting your emotional needs? That's an important one here for Gemini risings. Your other Mars-ruled house in your birth chart is the 11th house of community. So think about your audience, think about your friends, think about the groups that you're a part of, because there's a huge activation going on here. What families are you becoming a part of? And when I say families, I mean very much in this. My community membership looks like this. You know, I'm part of the knitting group, or I'm part of a local band, or I'm a part of the Amateur Dramatic Society. What is your community family looking like? What are your memberships? What are your subscriptions to? Because our subscriptions to like music services or streaming services online are all part of our 11th house. It's like, these are our communities, these are our spaces where we like to have fun and enjoy other people's company. Cancer rising, this full moon in Scorpio on Friday, the 1st of May, is landing in your 5th house of children, creativity, and romance. What is taking place in these particular areas of your life right now, where there is a culmination point? Are your children growing up and leaving home, and you are now traversing these feelings of kind of empty nest syndrome? Are you finding that you've got creative projects? If you don't have children, do you have creative projects that are coming to a culmination point? Are you putting more time and energy and emotional, instinctual awareness towards your artistic endeavors? Are you getting enough romance in your life? If not, now is the time to see, how can I spice things up? How can I have more of a romantic side to my life? Your other Mars ruled house in being brought into light during this full moon is your 10th house of career, public titles, mother, brother, sister, parent, wife, these sorts of things, where there is a huge activation from all of this Aries energy and a huge healing journey that is now starting under all of this brand new Aries energy that we've never seen in our lives. There is a brand new chapter in the way that you show up in the world and are seen in this very visible way. And some of those feelings might start to come out in more of a public way. And you may find that by sharing your own feelings about some of the harder things in life, can actually support other people and bring work to you from your sense of authentic emotional sharing. Leo risings, this full moon in Scorpio on Friday, the 1st of May, is showing up in your 4th house of family, home, roots, and soul tribe. There is a culmination point coming now. There is a lot of spotlight action taking place on this very private sphere in your world. Leo risings, you are a fixed sign, so you may be experiencing this full moon much more strongly than some of the other signs. Like I mentioned earlier on in the video, there is a lot of there's a lot of important emotional information coming through to you now, perhaps activated by this Uranus and Venus in Gemini as well, bringing information into our consciousness in quite a surprising and sudden way. And with a full moon in this fixed water sign, it's like, what are those skeletons in the closet that perhaps you've not been willing to look at before, but now are undeniable because Uranus is saying, here is this information, here is the way that you can now verbalize this and put this into words. And when you write it out on the page, you realize where you've perhaps held back, felt stuck in family and home life. Your other Mars ruled house, Leo rising, is your 9th house. So there is a longer term spiritual perspective around this full moon in Scorpio. There is an ability to start to process some of these Scorpio feelings, very intense, very authentic, very much not wanting to change, but possibly experiencing a nudge from the universe saying they do need to change now, even though you don't perhaps want to let go and start to look at these things. But the 9th house activation from Mars as well is also saying there's a way to learn about these experiences through higher learning, through astrology, through soul seeking, through dreams, through interactions with distant lands. Perhaps on social media, you have contact with people in another country, and those people help you to resolve some of this information. And it doesn't have to be in a direct, I'm sharing verbally, I'm having this problem at home and I want you to solve that for me, but it can come through just in other ways. And there's a healing journey to be had here through accessing more of those spiritual sides of life, perhaps teaching yourself or moving into an education environment is also helping to support some of this healing journey. Virgo risings, this full moon in Scorpio on Friday, the 1st of May, is landing in your 3rd house of living environment, short journeys, local neighborhood. This is the house of siblings and cousins and kind of early education. This is the house of communication as well. So is there an emotional spotlight now being shined on How do I share with more authenticity in my world? How do I learn with more authenticity? Why can't I say that? Authenticity, Virgo risings. Perhaps there are speech issues going on for you. I don't know. But yes, how am I looking at authentic understandings? There is an ability to really want to learn a lot, but feeling like almost at capacity with how much you can emotionally hold right now with a full moon in Scorpio. Particularly if you have any planets in the sign of Scorpio, this will be super emphasized for you. But we know as Virgo risings yourselves right now, that is a Mercury ruled sign, and we have all of this Mercury activation going on now with the recently ingressed Uranus in Gemini and Venus in Gemini. There's a lot of mental processing going on, and this can be around your living environment. Have you reached a point where your living environment no longer suits you and it's going to be a tough decision to make, but actually the decision needed is that you do need to change that? Scorpio is very good at self-regeneration, so it may feel almost crisis-like in the moment at the point of the full moon, but as the week moves on, next week, you start to see, perhaps I can forge a way out, and it will take some determination and effort and drive, but you are supported. You have got your other Mars-ruled house here, which is also being activated by the full moon, is your 8th house of inheritances, shared resources, karmic bonds. There's something, I feel you are supported by somebody else in this situation, either living or no longer living, because it is the 8th house. It does access the non-living realm, but there perhaps is some inheritance of passion, because when Aries rules your 8th house, there is like an inherited sense of childlike creativity, and perhaps through channeling some of this creativity, channeling some of this Marsy action, perhaps in athletic ways, you can start to see a way out of this 3rd house situation. If you're not thinking about moving home, maybe you are, like I said, there is a processing taking place about emotional capacity at this time. Perhaps try not to take in too much extra information, because it is, like I say, it's super active in the sky right now, this energy of lots and lots of information. But remember to come back to self. Remember to support your emotional well-being at this time, perhaps with some therapy, perhaps with some shared emotional connections with friends. Early childhood friends as well could be particularly important here. Libra risings. This full moon in Scorpio on Friday the 1st of May is taking place in your 2nd house. This is the house of your skills and your talents. This is a material resources house, so therefore this is a work house. Where is the culmination point coming around those particular topics in your life? Are you feeling particularly connected to an ability to support people with their emotional well-being? This is the sign of Scorpio. It's a water sign. We're thinking about emotional intelligence and authenticity, and being able to support your own material environment through having a natural skill set around those things. Your other Mars-ruled house is your 7th house of marriage, close one-to-one relationships, therapy, and the house of projection. So through somebody else's eyes, how are you understanding what your own skills are? Do you have a one-to-one client at the moment, or a particular work colleague that you work closely with that is helping you to understand that you have a lot of this emotional capacity to help support other people, or perhaps a sense of authenticity which helps people want to kind of purchase from you or to book you for their for jobs, for example, and they find that you are particularly personable on a one-to-one basis and even inspiring in some way. We've got a lot of energy of fire and active new beginnings in your 7th house. So perhaps if you're in a relationship, then your partner is a big part of understanding what, and reflecting back to you what your skills are and how you are truly valued in a long-term way about your emotional resilience with a Scorpio ruled 2nd house. Scorpio risings. This full moon on the 1st of May is falling in your 1st house of self, body, vitality, your outlook on the world. This is your front door to the world. And as Scorpio rising, you are one of the fixed signs that I mentioned earlier in the video. So you are going to be experiencing this full moon in your 1st house much more strongly than perhaps some of the other signs. This is a big spotlight on you, when usually what Scorpio risings like to do, think about Scorpio, is at the time of the year, we're around about Halloween, where we're we're thinking about the darkness is building and we're really honoring that. So a Scorpio rising in the middle of a full moon light is a bit like, no, get the light off of me. But it's kind of like, where can you shine your light? Where do you feel comfortable sharing your light? Maybe it's projecting it back into yourself and providing yourself with some emotional healing around fixed patterns from the past, which are now surfacing. Like I was saying earlier, there is a lot of information now coming to light, which we've not had access to before because of Uranus now in the sign of Mercury in Gemini, and Venus is also there as well. So there's a lot of information coming through now where that can help us verbalize our kind of own healing journeys. And for you, Scorpio risings, this is very personal to you and yourself and your body. Your other Mars ruled house is your 6th house of health, well-being. This is the house of pets, and it's also the house of service to others. Perhaps you are finding that through acts of service to others, you are feeling this renewed sense of yourself and feeling at one in your body again after a long period of perhaps feeling less connected by not doing so much of that service to others. Perhaps you've been thinking about yourself, but actually, because you have got the sign of Aries, which is the sign of the self in your 6th house, there's something about you being of service to others that comes from you just shining your light. You know, Aries is the exaltation of the sun. Your ability to shine your light can help heal other people, and with whether it's conscious or not, you are able to help support other people with your passions, with your emotional intelligence, with your authenticity. And that is feeding back into your own sense of self. If you are struggling with any particular physical ailments at this time, then take a look at there are these ideas of somatic healing, helping to move energy through your body. When it comes to fixed water, when it comes to the fixed water sign of Scorpio, there is a very set way of understanding feelings and not wanting to change them. But perhaps now with this energy of Uranus in Gemini as well, bringing healing to the surface with the Mercury Chiron conjunction here at this full moon as well in your 6th house, there is an ability to start to shift some stagnant feeling patterns that have taken you to this point in your life. Sagittarius rising, this full moon in Scorpio on Friday the 1st of May is going to be in your 12th house. This is the house of the subconscious. This is the house where we retreat away from society. And being a fixed water sign, you may find that you just feel like holding up, having some privacy, needing to reconnect with yourself, perhaps staying at home, perhaps closing the curtains just for a day or two, just come back to self. Perhaps you have an increased need for sleep at this time. A full moon in the 12th house is always going to do that. Or perhaps you find it difficult to sleep, but you know that what you really need to do is sleep. But that Jupiter ruled ascendant of yours is like, no, go, go, go. I've got to achieve all the things. And actually the moon in your 12th house is saying, no, it's time to stop. It's time to just take some rest. And your other Mars ruled house is your 5th house of children, creativity, romance, fun. How are the new beginnings taking place in these particular areas of your life? What creative pursuits are you doing? How are those feeding back into your ability to rest and recuperate? Because unless we are resting and recuperating, we're not able to dream the new into reality. So we do really need to pay attention to having some time out. If you can take a day off work, if you can just reclude yourself, or if you can get yourself involved in a space that is connected to revealing more of the subconscious. So go for a tarot reading, go for a yin yoga session, go for some therapy. Then there could be a lot of childhood information coming up here. I think doing some creative drawing to help bring some of that subconscious patterning out into the world of reality, because we now have got Uranus and Venus in the sign of Gemini, and that is all about bringing mercurial information out into reality. So that is our kind of direction forwards, is to be able to draw or write or photograph these things that are coming out from the subconscious, but also in this very creative way, which is helping us understand where the healing ticket lays for us, Sagittarius rising. Capricorn rising, this full moon on Friday the 1st of May is landing in your 11th house. This is your house of communities, this is your house of personal cheerleaders, this is your house of audiences and generally good fortune, unless otherwise signified in the natal chart. This is usually a house where positive things are taking place. Perhaps you're feeling particularly connected in a solid community, a new group perhaps that started 6 months ago. Maybe you're feeling very established there now in that group and as one with a group of people, possibly a smaller group of people, because Scorpio in the 11th house is very much about let's keep this close knit as opposed to much larger. Or maybe you have found a larger community and that community is saying to you, it's safe to be here in this bigger community because what we pride ourselves on here is authenticity and emotional intelligence, as opposed to being sort of chaotic and scattered and all about everybody's emotions, as opposed to having this soul binding sense of focus that you are sharing in your communities. Your other Mars ruled house here, Capricorn risings, is your 4th house of home, family, roots, and soul tribe. There's been a huge activation in this area of your life since the spring of 2026, and there's now a healing journey that is starting to take place. We have also got Uranus in the sign of Gemini, in the sign of Mercury. So Mercury, the communicator, whilst Mercury is in the sign of Aries here in your 4th house as well. So there's an ability to start to verbalize things which are bothering you in the home, or new plans that you want to make for the home, or perhaps you are really starting to find that soul tribe in that 11th house here and you're wanting to expand your experience with those people. Maybe you're wanting to plan to do a group retreat together or spend more time with these people, or you're allowing yourself to be more creative in the home environment, which is then supporting this emotional well-being in the 11th house. Or this could be the culmination point where you realize certain communities are no longer for you and you have got this sense of courage and the ability to name what your issues are with that community and say goodbye to that community, because it is a full moon, which can be an ending point as well as a wow, this is a great realization moment and a great spotlight on this part of my life. Like I was saying about being a part of a group that you really feel aligned with emotionally, it can also be, right, this is no longer for me and I'm calling back my inner voice to myself and I'm going to be spending more time at home as opposed to out in this community environment. Aquarius rising, this full moon in Scorpio on Friday the 1st of May is in your 10th house of career, status, public successes. This is a work house, and being a full moon, this is a culmination point and a spotlight. So have you applied for a promotion recently and now you are receiving it? Are you realizing that you've applied for the promotion but you kind of jumped in too quickly and now you're realizing you haven't received the promotion, but you're seeing why, what is the work that I need to put in now for the longer term, because we're talking about Scorpio being a fixed water sign. So what's my emotional investment with this work? Am I emotionally invested with my work? Do I want to put the time and effort in to try and reach that promotion goal in another 6 months' time? Or am I kind of done here? Perhaps I realize now that I reflect this full moon light back into my career house that I'm kind of finished with this line of my work and I want to start something new. Are you considering becoming a parent or a wife or a father or a partner to somebody else? Because this is another 10th house topic, because it's one of these very busy because it's one of these very public roles or titles that we take on ourselves. There's lots of activity around that area of your life, Aquarius risings. Your other Mars ruled house is your 3rd house of local neighborhood, living environment, short journeys, communication. There's a lot of activity going on here. Are you writing? Are you communicating? Are you sharing your incredibly innovative ideas, Aquarius rising? Because you've also got Pluto in your 1st house now for the next many years, you know, around about 15, 16 years left of Pluto in Aquarius. You've got some amazing golden knowledge which is coming through to you right now, and what are you doing creatively to help bring some of that knowledge to the surface? You've now got Uranus in Gemini making a trine aspect to your 1st house as well. There's a lot of mental insight coming through. So how are you allowing that information to be shared, to be received? Are you taking photographs? Are you going out to art galleries? Are you going out to music gigs? Are you going to a new gym? Are you trying new exercise styles? Think about, what can I try now? What's something new that I can start? Don't worry about Don't worry about the end result at the moment. Just think about, what can I start? What's going to activate some of that creativity for me? And Aquarius risings, you are one of those fixed signs that I mentioned earlier on in the video. And so this full moon is particularly powerful for you, perhaps more so than other people. And it's very public for you as well. So think about lots of emotional intensity going into that area of work. Have you reached the end of your tether with a work relationship, for example? Have you reached the end of your tether with a sibling relationship, for example, because your other Mars ruled house, which is very connected to this full moon in Scorpio, is your third house of siblings and local neighborhoods. Do you have an issue with your neighbors? That could also be coming to a culmination point. Or you could be, like I said, you could be receiving a promotion, and that is requiring a lot more creative output from you at this time. And you have got the energy to do that with this Mars in Aries here at the moment, really giving you that ability to get up and go and create and think dynamically and outside of the box, with a lot of factual information that you can bring into the situation here with Uranus and Venus in Gemini as well. Pisces rising, the full moon on Friday, the 1st of May, is landing here in your 9th house of spirituality, higher learning, distant shores. This is a culmination point, lots of light, lots of emotional information around your relationships with anybody from foreign shores. This is your relationships with teachers. This is your ability to dive in and start exploring around astrology or different faith systems, and your curiosity to start exploring something, kind of like a private investigator in your chosen topic. Think about the UK. There's a UK TV series called Mastermind, right? And it's, self-explanatory really, but it's kind of like, what's your specialist subject? And with Scorpio ruling your 9th house, your specialist subject is going to be something that is based in authenticity and emotional intelligence. There is also a deep-seated, long, life-lasting emotional connection to your beliefs and your faith. Are they experiencing a bit of a wobble at this time? Do you feel like you're experiencing a test from your faith systems? Are they supporting you in ways that are allowing you to live your most kind of authentic life? Or is there a need to shift in some way? For more information, look to your other Mars ruled birth chart house, which is your 2nd house. This is your skills, your knowledge, your ability to receive material rewards. This is a work house. So there's something here about your creativity at work and feeding into this ability to intuitively understand that there's a bigger meaning to all of this. The kind of humdrum of the daily routine can sometimes get a bit much, but I mean, with a lot of activity from the planets right now in your 2nd house of personal resources, skill set and work, there is something about being really creative at work that is helping to support you right now, and it's supporting a healing journey here with Mercury and Chiron in conjunction as well. And you have got Mars in Aries there at the moment as well, giving you the ability to really dig into your skill set, and don't think too much about the long term, but just think about, what do I want to try? Maybe there's this entrepreneurial nudge that is coming to you at the moment, with Aries as being very entrepreneurial, very much about the self, like what can I do to share my skill set and receive something in return from that is very connected to 9th house topics. So astrology, spirituality, faith systems, higher learning. This could be teaching. Do you think of yourself as a teacher, maybe in a traditional sense or in a less traditional sense? Is there a way that you can start sharing your teaching knowledge? And this full moon light is kind of saying, this is your go time, this is your now. Or maybe you've been working in the world of teaching and you realize, actually, I've had enough of that. I don't feel that I can emotionally be as authentic as I would like to be. I think there's so many kind of systems around, traditional education systems, that sometimes it's difficult to be emotionally authentic because you just don't have the time. Or is there an ability to start using some of your intuitive resources? I mean, Pisces rising, you are intuitive naturally, especially with that North Node in your 1st house still at the moment in the sign of Pisces, and Jupiter in Cancer here. There's a lot of water, and then a lot of mental energy coming from Uranus in Gemini in your 4th house of home and kind of inherited things, family lineage, soul tribe. what is your emotional ability to help support people that perhaps are unable to express themselves, maybe in the school environment, maybe you are able to just hold space for somebody, but there's this kind of non-verbal quality going on, and maybe you're going into a long-term role supporting other people emotionally, where eventually you will start to receive some of the benefits of their emotional well-being kind of being lifted because you're supporting them to express themselves verbally, but this is kind of the beginning of the process. Or maybe you're moving on from helping support somebody in that particular way, and you have provided some great emotional authenticity and the ability to confirm that something about secure attachment style when it comes to the parent-teacher relationship has like really paid off, and somebody is feeling emotionally very well because of you, or thanks to you. Thanks so much for joining for these full moon and Scorpio horoscopes, and I'll see you again in a fortnight. Bye.